Hey, so I want to talk about identity this morning and how it can actually be really dangerous. There's the obvious example of like the suicide bomber who's identified with his religion, right? Or any number of martyrs throughout history that have, died for a cause. But death by identity can also be a lot subtler and seemingly commonplace. For instance, one of my favorite authors, Anthony DeMello, tells the story of a tribe. I think it's in Indonesia or something, where capital punishment consists of banishment, right? So if a person is sentenced to death, then they're banished from the tribe and from the community, and they go off by themselves and they just die. That's how heavily these people have been conditioned into their tribal or group identity, right? DeMello says, if you or I were banished, we might be upset about it, but we wouldn't just die. But people do. He also writes about how there have been cases of really high-functioning college kids at prestigious schools who, when they fail their final exam, just go off and commit suicide, And we think, wow, the test did it, right? It's like, no, the identity, the belief that I'm a failure or I failed, right? That's what caused them to commit suicide. It was their programming. And of course, the buried childhood emotions, which kept the programming or the identity feeling so true. I knew a guy long time sober in Alcoholics Anonymous in my hometown who was, he was a leader at his AA group, great guy, and he ended up having a slip or a relapse after 35 years of sobriety, right? The next day, he jumped off of a bridge. What killed him? The drink? Nope. He was sober when he jumped. It was his identity as an alcoholic that got decimated when he took that drink, right? Again, it was his programming that killed him. Here's the thing about identities, whether it's I'm an alcoholic or I'm a failure or I'm a Christian or I'm a liberal or I'm a member of this family, the reason that we identify so rigidly with them is so we don't have to feel things. I had a friend in high school who hung herself, and I really believe that part of that decision for her was because she felt trapped in her diagnosis of depression. At least part of that was her identity as a depressed person and everything she knew about being depressed, right? It reinforced her suffering. There's no honor in dying for what you believe in. There's ignorance, right? Because these identities, they're not real. They're relative truths, meaning they're only true because we believe them, right? And this is why our work in the Killaby Inquiries is to challenge identities or beliefs in order to get to the buried emotions that cause and drive our suffering. Once we clear the body of these buried emotions and the repression of them, we're no longer at risk for dying for what we believe in because belief and identity are no longer necessary. If you'd like to learn more about this, then visit repressiontest.com.